Torhas says, hey man, I started learning Japanese with your channel a few years ago and ended up giving up when kanji started. Oh no, thinking about trying again. Any tips for kanji? Again, for kanji, don't focus on doing everything. Don't get Anki lists of all the kanji. Don't learn all the readings. Learn a kanji and learn some words with it that use readings. That's it. And don't focus on writing. If it's demotivational for you to write, I like to write, so I would write. Like when I was in my Chinese class, I was writing it all because I figured that helps me out remembering it better. But you could just learn to read it. Just get good at reading it, recognizing it, okay? Don't focus on becoming perfect in any part of Japanese and you'll get good in Japanese. Perfect is the enemy of good. It really, really is. You know that you can't become perfect without being good first, but if you focus on jumping that level, going up, like you can't skip over bad, poor, pretty good, good, great, perfect. You can't get to perfect without going through the steps. It's like a lot of people when they study Japanese, because I really firmly believe it's the internet. Like they'll hit a video on trying to be perfect in something, and it's like trying to climb Mount Fuji immediately to the top. It's like, you know, I'm gonna climb Mount Fuji, but I don't want to do I don't want to make mistakes along the way. I don't want to I'm just gonna go right to the top and be perfect. But what do you miss on the way to Mount Fuji, the top of Mount Fuji? You miss all the beautiful trees, all the vistas at the lower levels where you're closer to the buildings, you know. You miss the deer, the rabbits, whatever beautiful experiences you might have. You might slip and hit your knee every now and then, but that's a story. Oh my God, wait till I tell you how I almost died on Mount Fuji right around that fifth area, what do they call it? The Gogo, the fifth summit. I don't know what they call it. I've never climbed Mount Fuji. I'm just saying, you miss a lot along the way and you can't just do it anyway. Unless you're going to get in a helicopter and go to the top of the mountain, you can't do it. It doesn't work that way. You got to suck in Japanese before you can be good. You got to be good before you can be great. You got to be great before you can be perfect, right? So just learn it in stages. With kanji, it's the same thing. Just learn what is around you, what you want to use, what you see when you're studying. When you're watching your favorite Japanese pop star and there's a lyric for a song, like what is that? And in a bonus, you'll probably learn a new verb as well. Glacion says, I'm a firm believer that writing helps retention. It does. It really, really does. It also helps you see the differences in the kanji for their radicals, which you saw that mistake I just made, right? I looked at matsu and thought it was motsu. Okay, but motsu is the hand radical and matsu is the go radical. D. Bud Martin says, you might not need to write kanji ever, but writing helps recognize it. Absolutely true. Eric Pug says, when writing for studying, I found the Kura Toga mechanical pencils are fantastic. A great Japanese product. Let me say this as well. Don't focus on having the perfect tool. You can literally have any pen and write. You don't need to do calligraphy. I know it helps when you're doing fade stops and, tomerus and hanerus, those type of stroke types are important when you're learning to write calligraphy, but you don't have to have the perfect tool. Just any pen will be fine. The Kura Toga, which I've never heard of before, they're probably fantastic. But if you make that something that you need, it's another roadblock. Be sloppy with it. It doesn't need to be clean. And by the way, it doesn't matter how much prep work you do. It doesn't matter if you have all the perfect tools, the best book in the world, the best teacher, you're still gonna suck. You're gonna be sloppy. You're gonna have days where you hate yourself. Like, why can't I do this? I should have known this, but I forgot it. Oh my God, I spent so much time on my Anki deck. How come I don't know this word? Because you didn't use it. You didn't use it in actual Japanese. That's why you don't know it. You didn't have a mistake or a funny story. You didn't have experiential learning. Mara An said, I just started with 15 kanji, and most of those, the first 10 numbers, more came after, and there were weeks and months, and I barely learned new ones. Just use the ones to know. I mean, at a minimum, that's what you got to do. You're right. Just learn the ones that you need, because if you try to learn all 2,000 kanji before you know how verb conjugation works and how to say I like a cat, you're unbalanced. Your Japanese is super unbalanced. But if you learn kanji while you learn the hiragana, you learn the katakana, you learn verbs, you start learning some kanji, you build it together. Do you think Japanese children learn all the kanji before they're out of high school? No, it takes them 10 years to learn all the kanji. I just always wonder what people are thinking when they learn Japanese. They try to learn all the kanji at once. It's a great goal, but it doesn't get you to fluency if that's your goal. If your goal is to learn all the kanji, you got to do that. But if your goal is to speak some Japanese, be understood and understand, you better practice listening. You better practice having a thought in your head and making it come down to your mouth and come out in Japanese. Because I'll tell you what, you think you're good. You think you're amazing. You every test you've ever done online, every fake JLPT, not fake, sorry. Every JLPT, what's the word? Not fake. Sample test that you do well. It's all fun and games until you get into a conversation and you haven't practiced the one skill that no one really thinks about: speaking, putting a thought. 日本語、英語から日本語の能力があるかないか。すごい重要. You need to have the skill to go from English to Japanese to out of your mouth. Talk to anybody who was studying Japanese and then went to Japan. They all say it. Every single one. It happened to me. I was studying Korean. I thought, I pretty good hang on this. First time I went to the convenience store and the guy said it was, what do you say? 3,500원입니다. I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready for something as simple as 3,500 won. 3,500원. Wasn't ready for it. If I saw that on the page, I'd get it right away. Because one thing you forget about when you're looking at stuff, like if you're watching Japanese on like a TV show with subtitles, of course you understand more because you have a visual representation. But if you turned off the subtitles, have you listened raw? It's a lot different skill. Listening with subtitles versus listening without subtitles versus listening while you have to think about the next thing that you want to say in response to what that person said, a whole different skill. Do you know that I sometimes, just because I'm probably weird, I talk to the TV. I do it in English because that's just the thing that I do. I respond to the character. I do it in Japanese. I do it in Korean. Because it's not because. There's no reason why I do it. It's just I'm weird. But it helps me get good at conversation because I've already had that conversation as a joke in my head. I did a video the other day. Not a lot of people watched it, but I was analyzing a guy that was in the Philippines, this Japanese guy. And at one point, he asked a Filipino girl, "Taberu? Are you going to eat?" And in the video, I saw myself do it, right? I'm just remembering right now how I said, "Yeah, I eat." I answered the question as if he asked it to me. Okay? So that kind of thing I do all the time. So if someone in a TV show said, "Taberu," which even though that means will you eat, it also means in that tone, do you want to eat? I might go, そうだね。ちょっとお腹空いてるかな。じゃあ食べよう. Right? I might answer because it's funny to me because I'm weird. But I kind of recommend you do that. Stop the video and answer the question. What would you say in that moment? And turn off those subtitles. Just turn them off completely. No English, no Japanese. See what you understand. Is so different. I'm playing that Yakuza game and I'll freely admit, without those subtitles, I don't know if I'd be doing as good. I don't know how to turn them off, by the way. I don't think there's a way to turn it off and just have dialogue. But it's a much different skill to not have it on there. And by the way, I'll say this thing too. Sometimes when I'm reading the Japanese, I realize I'm not hearing what he's saying too. Because sometimes it's the opposite. If I didn't read it, I would have understood it. Because my brain is saying, wait a minute, that kanji isn't normally read that way. In my brain, it's causing confusion. I heard it one way, but then I'm reading it one way and now I don't know what it means. But if I just heard it, I'd get it. If I just read it, I'd get it. But when they mix together, breaking what I think it should be, I lose comprehension. So what are the skills we're talking about? Reading Japanese is a skill. Listening while reading is a skill. Listening without reading is a skill. Listening where you have to answer is a whole nother skill. Where you don't know what's happening. You don't know the topic. When you're watching a TV show, you know the plot. You know what's happening. But if someone randomly comes up to you in Japan and says, すいません、あなたは青い財布持ってるんですか? So, out of the blue. No context. Do you have a blue wallet? Now, the moment you understood Aoi Saifu, maybe you'd, oh my God, did I drop my wallet? And he picked it up. Now you have some context. Hi. And then you check it. Saifu ga nai desu. そこで拾いました. I picked it up over there. Oh, okay. It's a totally different skill. If you only eat spaghetti, you're not going to have a good time, right? You got to eat vegetables. You got to have dessert. There's like a balance of food. Same thing when you learn Japanese. You got to have a balance of what you're doing because The end goal, I don't know what it is. You tell me what your end goal is. But if your end goal is what most people is, it's to watch TV without subtitles and speak some Japanese. I feel like that would be a good end goal, don't you think? You know what? Another thing I do is I try to guess the next dialogue. And I nail it sometimes. It's super, super good dopamine boost, you know. It's like, oh my God, I did it. I not only did I guess how the story was going to go, because here's the thing. There's only so many places a story can go, right? Let's say a character walked into a room where there's one dead character and one living character. What's the conversation? It's really limited. It would have nothing to do with eating. There would be no like, what did you eat today? Hey, do you want to go eat? It might have been that. Maybe he's going to go see the character A who's alive and character B who's dead. Let's say he was heading in to talk to character A about getting lunch. He walks in, he sees character A and he goes, oh, 今日の一緒に食べる? Right? And then he notices the body. Do you think the taberu conversation is going to keep going? No. What's the next thing he's going to say? Probably 9 times out of 10. Doshita? Like what happened? Or the character's name? B-san! And he rushes to B-san. Or there was a history between A and B and he immediately realizes that A killed B. So he rushes to A and he grabs him. What did you do? There's only so many things that can happen in that scene. That's what you learn when you have conversations, right? There's only so many things. That's why experiences are important. That's why and you don't get that in a textbook. That's the problem. With textbooks, you don't have all of those cues. You know, you don't walk into the textbook conversation and there's a dead person on the floor and someone holding a knife. It's just like all of a sudden, there's all of a sudden something happened and your brain has nothing to latch onto. That's why listening, watching, and interacting with Japanese is a way more effective way to learn than purely using textbooks or purely using my videos or purely using even FromZero.com, by the way, guys, if you want to learn Japanese. Check out our 5 courses at FromZero.com.